Okay, before I get into this one, Espinala44 has created yet another quality video. This time it's about 9 minutes long, and it's this one on the top left here. If Red Bull wins the 2024 drivers title, it'll be horrible optics. Okay, check it out. Really succinct, and it tells you so much of what's going on wrong in Formula One at the moment. So check it out. The trouble is, with what we're having is there is so much wrong, and when people identify it, that video will go to a small number of people, and then that video dies a death. So yesterday's video that I tried to get you all over to see has now got 13,000 views, and what will be typical is that that video will then just peter out. Nobody else watches it. And yet there's some channels where they'll do a video and it'll get 300,000 views, it'll get 500,000 views, it'll get 1,000,000 views, and what them sort of videos contain are fluff. Absolute bullshit is what a lot of them contain. And the quality stuff, which has got the really key information exposing these for exactly what they are, well, what they're getting, 13,000 views. So it's our job to try to get more people to see things like this. Okay, and they do it really well, is that in a very short space of time, they hit the key points. I understand that the AI voice will turn some people off, okay? But please consider it like this. There's a human being behind that, and that human being has taken the time to do the research and to write it down, to articulate in a succinct manner the actual reality of the situation. Okay, they've taken the time to craft everything that is being said and write it down so that it makes sense and evidence it. And so they're then using an AI voice to communicate that. And they've got the right to anonymity because not everybody wants to put themselves on the internet, which is fine. I don't want to put my face on here because it's not about me. It's not about me and it's not about my voice. I just, it's easier for me to do it this way. I don't want people to decide whether or not what I'm saying is true or false based on whether or not they like me. Because that's not what it's about, is it? It's about, is the information being presented accurate or not? It doesn't matter whether you like me or not. It's about what is being said and is it right or is it wrong? So please go and have a look at them and listen to what's being said. Okay, listen to what's being said. So this one, the dynamics that we're having at the moment, and we've had for a long time. Last video I put out was relating to Andrew Benson once again forming his part of the media network that will not expose truth. And this is the trouble. Okay, we are, all of us, all of our lives are impacted by media. Media is supposedly a source of information for us all. And so if we want to find out about something, where do you go? You go to have a look on the TV, you have a look on the internet, you go on social media, and therefore you then read about something to form your opinion about something or get educated about something. Where is the truth? We have got multiple companies out there, pretty much all of them, which aren't interested in truth, they're interested in money. And that what they are, they're not a truth-telling organisation. They're an organisation that will present to inform us of a situation from the viewpoint of whoever has got the agenda, whoever is paying them to present the situation to be a certain way. That form of media will present the situation to be that way. And when that media is owned by the billionaires that own this show, or have got financial ties with that, then the media informing you about the show is not going to highlight the corruption of the show. And hence, every form of media that is actually presenting about Formula One is presenting it in a certain way to get us to try to accept it, to tentatively try and reason it, to try and explain it to us in a certain way to get us to all believe their lies. And them lies are making them money. They're fraudulent in what they're doing. They're pretending that, oh, there's a problem in the sport. That problem that's created incites people. That enrages people. That causes more people to engage. They know the dynamics of this. They are the masters of this. They do market research. They know what works. Because media is there now. The primary function of media is to make money. Okay, it's not to convey accurate information to people, it's to make money. How do they make money? Well, they charge brands to advertise on the media. The more people looking at that media, the more money that they can charge the brands, the more money they make. It's all about money. Okay, it is all about money. And now the BBC shouldn't be like that. The BBC is funded by us, the taxpayer. Not taxpayer, well, licence fee payer. Taxpayer, same sort of thing, isn't it? So Andrew Benson shouldn't be behaving like that, but he is. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem. But Sky Sports, they are contracted by Liberty Media. And like I said, I've gone through the ownership style of this before. Sky Sports are owned by Comcast. Comcast are owned by BlackRock and Vanguard. Okay, BlackRock and Vanguard also have partial ownership of Liberty Media. So you can see the ties. BlackRock and Vanguard benefit when Liberty Media make 4.8 billion. BlackRock and Vanguard each get 10% of that. BlackRock and Vanguard, who own the media that's going to tell you about this, well, that media is not going to tell you that it's fraudulent, is it? No, that media is going to protect the money that has been made fraudulently by telling us about that situation in a manner that gets us to believe that, oh, it's all a grey area and it's all uncertain. And Andrew Benson is serving that same narrative. You see, just in this one, the last video was about Andrew Benson writing about it. And if I go into that article, Andrew Benson is saying it's worth mentioning that the current guidelines have not technically been formally approved by the drivers. So we're talking about a set of guidelines for overtaking that already existed, back in 2020, the season before the 2021 season. Yeah, they already existed then. And them same guidelines that weren't a problem in 2020 became a problem in 2021. And what was the problem? Well, the problem is that Max Verstappen breached them time and time and time and time and time again, and yet there was never any penalties applied to Max Verstappen. Is that a problem with the guidelines, or is that a problem with this sport not penalising a specific driver and enabling that specific driver? Well, the problem is with the corruption that's within the sport, where the people that are, their role is to referee that sport, adjudicate on wrongdoing, letting off the person that's guilty of wrongdoing. That's not a problem with the guidelines and the regulation. It's just the problem is not applying those guidelines and regulations to that particular competitor. That's the problem. But they present it as if there was a problem with the guidelines. The reason that they didn't penalise Max is because actually it could be argued that Max was doing it right, and we now need to revise the guidelines. This is what they presented to try to validate Abu Dhabi and 2021 season with all them infringements. So they tell us back at the start of the 2022 season that there's going to be changes. 2024, we've now got problems again. I mean, in the interim period, we didn't get Max doing the diving his car at other cars and driving his car at the other cars to drive them off the road so much, because Max had a dominant car where he didn't need to do that. All Max needed to do in those seasons was be on a straight, roll up behind another car, press his accelerator a bit, and his car would just blitz past the other car. And by the time they got to the corner, Max would already be 50 metres ahead. There was never any need for Max to go in proper wheel-to-wheel battles to make a skillful overtake back in either 2022 or 2023. Now that Max hasn't got a car that is so dominant, it still might be the best car, we don't know. We can only assess how good that Red Bull car is with Max driving it. We can't see whether Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, Lewis Hamilton, George Russell would be able to drive Max's car around the track at a faster speed than Max can. We don't get to see that. So we don't get to see whether, as we're presented with, oh, Red Bull's now only the third best car. No, we don't know that for sure. All we know is, in the hands of Max Verstappen, that car can only be that fast. You know, we don't even know if Sergio Perez's car is the same spec. it's highly likely that Sergio Perez's car is not the same car as Max Verstappen's car and is not capable of going as fast. So, you know, this is, again, what we're presented with, but we are never going to be able to find that out. Instead, we have to rely on what media tell us. Oh, media say the Red Bull's the third fastest car. Well, what does the data show? Well, the data shows, well, that this year's car is slower than last year's car. Well, what's going on there then? Strange, isn't it? Why would this year's car be slower than last year's car if we're iterating so we can constantly trying to improve it and make it better? Oh, if you include something now that's new and it makes it worse, well, what do? You take it off and you revert back to what you had because what you had was better. Why would you stick with something that's made something worse? Strange, isn't it? Strange. Common sense, but again, media won't present it that way. Instead, you've got the likes of Andrew Benson saying it's worth mentioning that the current guidelines have not technically been formally approved by the drivers. So, if the current guidelines haven't technically been approved by the drivers, then they're not the current guidelines, are they? What guidelines are we actually using? And this is again part of the media web of bullshit. This is Andrew Benson telling us this on the 29th of October. And we can go to this from Karen. So Karen Chandok is telling us this. 25th of October 2024, able to broadcast to 52,000 people. Karen Chandok is telling us this.
He's trying to make sure he gets to that apex first. And the reason he's trying to do that is because he is acutely aware of the guidelines that the stewards use. Now, these guidelines have been created by the stewards and the race directors and the FIA, basically.
These guidelines have been created by the stewards, the race director, and the FIA, is what Karen tells us. These guidelines, right? Now, in documents here, let's have a look. Is it? No, it's. There we go. This one here. This is a FIA. This is from Mexico. All right. This is an FIA document as well. It says decisions of the stewards are taken independently of the FIA and are based solely on the relevant regulations, guidelines, and evidence presented. So you're saying that the stewards make decisions that are nothing to do with the FIA. But then you're also saying that the guidelines have been created by the stewards and the FIA and the race director and the drivers.
In consultation with the GPDA and the drivers.
So these documents, sorry, I'm going to just rewind that just to make sure we all know who they've been created with.
Of the guidelines that the stewards use. Now, these guidelines have been created by the stewards and the race directors and the FIA, basically, in consultation with the GPDA and the drivers. And it's
right. So Karen's telling us that them guidelines have been created in consultation with them, and that was telling us that on the 25th of October. On the 29th of October, Andrew, the BBC's expert, is saying that it's worth mentioning that the current guidelines, you know, these ones that Karen's just presented us, have not technically been formally approved. So when we're making these decisions, what guidelines are we going by? If this new ones, which haven't been approved yet, well, they're not in action then, are they? So why are you presenting to us that the situation is being judged according to this set of guidelines, but you're also presenting that set of guidelines hasn't been made official yet? So how can you judge it against a set of projected guidelines that we're proposing? Which set of guidelines are you actually judging it by? The original set of guidelines that were there in the 2020 season, they weren't a problem. There was no issue there. The issue was you weren't applying them. The issue was you just enabling Max Verstappen. And the issue is now you're still enabling Max Verstappen. There was never a problem with the guidelines. But rather than identify that, They're saying, oh, it's a problem with the guidelines, and Max is the expert of the guidelines, and the guidelines give us the grey area where you can interpret the guidelines to mean something that they don't mean. And Karen will tell you this.
Says quite clearly.
Well, first, he gaslights us, pretending that in the incident in the US Grand Prix, which I think this is what this one's from, yeah, Austin, okay, that Lando was the car performing the overtake. It's irrelevant, actually. It's irrelevant in as much that there's two cars going side by side into a corner. I showed you the video of the Austrian Grand Prix of 2021. It was irrelevant. The fact is, there are two cars going into a corner. The car that's on the inside has forced the car on the outside off at exit of that corner. Hence, you're guilty of not leaving that other car track room on exit of the corner. By getting to the apex of a corner first does not give you the right to force the other car off the track. Karen is suggesting that, oh, these guidelines don't tell you that you can't do that. So therefore, that's why Max is the expert and does do that. Max is the expert of these rules. He knows that they don't say you can't, so that's why he does. And that's utter rubbish, because the reality is the fundamentals of motor racing are that you've got to drive your car in a safe and controlled manner all the way around the racetrack. Driving another car off the track is not driving your car in a safe and controlled manner. You're risking an accident. You're risking crashing into the car if you are driving your car on a collision course with another car. If you are not treating your fellow competitor with respect and be willing to crash into them, otherwise they jump out of the way or you hit them. That's not driving your car in a safe and controlled manner. But the media comes in front of us and lies.
That if the driver is overtaking around the outside, they need to have their front axle at least alongside the other car. So in this case, Norris needs to be fully alongside Verstappen. He wasn't, and therefore that wasn't.
So what they do, they embellish the lie. Oh, you need to meet this. Oh, was he like that? Oh, well, arguably you could say this. It's all lies. So it's all lies, and this argument's never existed like that. Who start these things off? The people that want to benefit from them. Who had the problem with the regulation? Did anybody else have a problem with how things were? It's the person that wants to do things differently for their benefit that has the problem with rules. That's the problem. Who wanted to do something differently because they couldn't do it right using the existing rules? Who does it benefit by changing the rules? Well, that benefits the one guy that is willing to compete like that. The one guy that's willing to put his car on a collision course with other drivers, and either they move or there's a crash. Well, oh, he knows the expert of the regulations that allow him to do that. That's not sport. That's not sport. But the media are presenting that the problem here is the regulations. They're saying that actually Max is a genius for knowing the regulations. And the problem's not Max Verstappen. No, the problem is Max Verstappen. The problem is a corrupt sport facilitating, manufacturing Max Verstappen by enabling him to contest that sport in an illegal manner. It's a problem that the sport pretends it doesn't know the rules of the sport. It can't fathom out the reasons why they'd have made those rules in the first instance. No, we are now making rules to enable Max Verstappen to win. Why are you doing that? Who does that benefit? Oh, that benefits Red Bull, doesn't it? That benefits Max Verstappen, the guy that you are enabling to be champion all the time. It's disgusting. I'm going to go through all of the recently produced videos from Sky and demonstrate to you, both at the Mexican Grand Prix and the Austrian Grand Prix, both the lies being told and how to just destroy everything that's being put in front of us. They're going to take a bit of time. You see, I was going to do a breakdown of the Mexican Grand Prix and do it from the recorded audio. It's just going to take too long and lots of people will not watch it. And so it's almost a waste of my time doing something that's 2 or 3 hours long. I did something this afternoon that was over 2 hours long, and I'm not going to publish it because I know that it just won't get any views. So I'm going to try and do it this way. And the purpose of me doing what I'm doing is trying to get people to see what is really going on. Understand that the media is there and it's lying to us. It's not serving the purpose of being an authentic source of information. The media is serving an agenda. Okay, it is feeding us information that the owners of the show want us to be fed with because that enables them. By presenting the situation as being, oh, nobody can understand it, oh, it's a grey area, oh, there's a slight problem here that we might need to look at and then decide what we're going to do, but that's going to take a few more weeks, and Max is going to win a few more races, and that doesn't mean that you need to impose a penalty or a punishment to Max. No, Max gets to keep everything that he's already got from performing in that illegal manner. No, that's all fine, everybody. Move on, move on, move on. Stay entertained, though. Stay entertained. Stay entertained. And this is the problem in this world. We have rules, we have regulations, and they're there for a purpose. They're there for the benefit of everybody, for the safety of everybody. And somebody wants to break them for their benefit. They want to profit from them. No. If you break rules, there's a consequence, and you don't get to keep what you got through breaking rules. But they don't want to impose a consequence. They want to keep what they got through breaking the rules. So in order to do that, they've got to convince us that rules don't exist and there is no consequence for breaking rules. And this is what media is doing. Media is doing this in the sport of Formula One, and it's also doing this in the greater outside world. Back when Liz Truss was Prime Minister of this country and Kwasi Kwarteng was Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng was guilty of the crime insider trading. That collapsed the British economy to the tune of £60 billion. People benefited. The people that he spoke to, his economist friends, his banker friends, his hedge fund manager friends that he sat down with, discussed his plans with, chatted with, told them what he was going to do, gave them the heads up so that they could go away and do what they needed to do, so that when the economy was collapsed, well, where does that 60 billion go? Goes somewhere, doesn't it? If somebody loses 60 billion, somebody gains 60 billion. That's called insider trading. Having information ahead of the game that allows you to make gains. That's a crime. We already have that rules. Oh, nobody knows the rules, everybody. Nobody knows the rules. But we don't want those people that gained to have to give that back. We don't want them people that benefited to lose what they benefited. There can be no consequence for that. The only consequence can be that all of us, we have to pay the price for that. Anyone with a mortgage, yeah, your mortgage is now at least £300 a month higher if you're not on a fixed rate. That's cost you at least £6,000 over the last 2 years. Yeah, it's all us that pay the price for that, isn't it? For that crime that they benefited from, that the media, who are owned by them, won't tell us, won't highlight that it was insider trading, that was criminal, and that these people should go to prison, and we should be able to claw that money back so that we're no longer having to pay. Our lives, our standard of living decreased, the amount of money in our pocket reduced, and they're the ones that have it. Oh, the media won't tell it us that way because the media is owned by them, and they will just tell it us a certain way. Yeah, trickle down economics, everybody. Trickle down economics. Make the billionaires even wealthier, and the money that they have will eventually find its way down to you people that are doing the work. Yeah, that's going to be great, isn't it? That's going to be great. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's working well, isn't it? Lies. Look how the media is being utilised. This is what we have. We have a structure in life where this is happening. The media is being used to condition us into acceptance by gaslighting us, by lying to us, by presenting things as being confusion, by presenting as though there's no rules, there's no regulations, nobody can understand them, there was no purpose for them. But they're now some grey areas that the intelligent ones are able to exploit because they're the experts of it. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just intelligent enough to realise that the rules enable them to do that, is what the media tell you when it's criminal. It's fraud. It's sport fixing. It's sport manipulation. It's the failure to apply the rules to a sporting competitor to enable that sporting competitor to achieve success at the expense of others. That's sports manipulation. That's a crime. And that's what's happening in Formula One, and the same things happen in this world. So I am going to go through some of the other videos. I'm going to try and keep them as short as possible because I know that'll go on for a long time. But please, people, please wake up. Please share the content. Them two videos, the short videos from Espinala 44, okay, they will really wake some people up. So please use them. And if you come across any of mine that you think will help other people become awake to a situation, please share mine. Thank you for your time, and I'm going to try and do a couple more today where I go through the Sky Sports F1 presentations and just tear them apart. So that'll be it on this one. Thank you.